Hello, this is Donna from DonnaTCrafting, and welcome to the AECP Hop for Altenew with a theme of Frosty Splendor. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment so you'll be entered to win some fabulous prizes from Altenew. I am making a card today using the Layered Snowflakes embossing folder and also using the Cozy Winter Vibes stamp and die set, which is actually one of my very favorite stamp and die sets. First, I'm going to start with doing some ink blending. I'm going to start with some Alpine Aster, and I'm going to lightly start blending. First, I tap off, and then very lightly start adding some color in the middle of my card. This is an A2 card, and I am just lightly adding color and then going back and just building up the layers of color. I'm going to have light color in the middle, going out to darker on the outsides. I have sped up this part because it does take a little while to build up that color, so I'm going to speed it along a little bit. My second color is Crystal Violet. It will go just outside of that light area. I'm going to add that all around. Again, I tap off and then I start with a light layer, blending it into the middle, and just keep adding a little bit of color until it gets to the darkness that I want. My last color is Indigo Skies. It is a very beautiful dark navy, and I will be adding that all along the outside. Now I'll be trimming this card down just a bit, so if some of my edges get really dark, that's okay. I can trim those off if I don't like them in the end, but I just am going to make sure that I get a good dark color along the outside. As you can see, as I tap off, I'm leaving some ink on my glass mat, and I will go back and pick up some of that ink and use it instead of dipping into my ink pad in just a moment here, so that I don't waste that ink. We can go back and pick that up, but we want to tap off so that we don't have such a harsh dark color to start with. You want to add ink slowly. Now that I've got my ink blended panel, I'm going to take my embossing folder and I'm going to take my ink blended panel and give it a very light spritz with some water. This will help with the embossing. And then I will put it inside my embossing folder, making sure I put it in the area where I get the snowflakes I want. And I am going to take this and run it through my embossing machine using the suggested sandwich for the machine. I'm going to do that off camera. And what I get are these beautiful embossed snowflakes. They are just gorgeous. This folder makes a wonderful background. I am going to enhance these snowflakes though a little bit by using some silver pigment ink. I'm going to take a little foam finger dauber and I'm going to take some silver pigment ink and lightly rub that over the embossed snowflakes. Now some will get down into the bottom layer of the card, but most of your ink of this pigment ink is going to end up on the top by lightly taking the silver pigment ink over these snowflakes. Again, I'm going to speed this up just a bit to quickly add this ink over all of the snowflakes on this panel. I'm using a very light touch and just going back and forth using a little bit of a circular motion from the middle to the outside. The snowflakes then will look very detailed and will pop off the card background by adding the silver ink on top of this. I think it's a beautiful effect. You could try some white ink as well, pigment ink. I just thought the silver made it look very pretty and very wintry. Now that I have the background done, we're going to start working on the Cozy Winter Vibe stamped images. There are several images here and they're all really cute. I did some prep work ahead of time and stamped each of the images and some of the sentiments. And I did a little bit of coloring on a few of the images just so that we would have a few things prepped for this. My plan is to use the cabin and the vehicle, but I think you could use any of these images on here. If you look at the snowman building family, that is really cute with this background. The sledding scene, which I haven't got to coloring yet, if you flip the card, it would be a wonderful little scene in the snowflakes coming all around it. And I would suggest the sentiment of chilling with my snowmies. I think that is just really cute. But again, I want to use the log cabin look, and I'm going to use the vehicle. I'm going to call it a Jeep for now. I think it's a very nice masculine winter card or Christmas card that you could use. And I'm going to use my Altenew artistry markers. These are alcohol markers, which I absolutely love. I use them for most of my alcohol coloring. And I am going to color in this Jeep. I'm using a variety of grays and greens and blues for my coloring today. I will link the colors that I used in the bottom in the comments of the YouTube video. I'm going to start with a darker gray, and I'm going to add that onto my tires. And then I'm going to come back with a little bit lighter gray to add some shading. Again, I am going to speed up this part of the video. You can see how I'm doing each of the colors onto the tires and blending the two colors of gray together. I wanted my tires to be dark, but I'm also being careful. There are some places that the stamped image looks like there is snow stuck to the tires and to the Jeep. So you have to just decide if you want that in your image, and if so, you got to color around it so that you have those patches of snow stuck to the tires, stuck to the Jeep, etc. I have a lighter gray here that I'm going to use to do the wheel part of the tire, just so it'd be lighter. And then I'm also going to use it to color the trim on the grill of the Jeep. I'm not going to do any shading along this grill. I'm just going to use this one color on the grill of the Jeep. Instead of using a lot of shading and everything, I'm just going to use the one color here. It takes a little time to do the coloring, but I think the results are absolutely fabulous. You can see with the cabin that I did, I used several different gray colors to do the stone work at the bottom of the cabin, and then used several browns up into the wood, making sure there's some differentiation in the browns in the different areas of the wood. And then using a light blue to accent my snow and light blue for my windows. One thing I like to do with my images is add a little special touch, and there's a little sign next to the door at the bottom of the cabin, and I wrote welcome on that sign, so it's got a cute little welcome sign. The coloring I'm doing currently on the Jeep is working on the coloring of the Jeep. I'm going to make mine a green Jeep. You could do red, you could do blue, you could do any color you want really for this. I just decided to use a variety of greens to shade my Jeep for this image. And again, I'm taking my time because the stamped image has several places that it looks like snow is stuck to the Jeep, like it has been sitting outside and there was a fresh snow on the Jeep. So there's some patches still stuck to it. So I want to leave those in my stamped image, so I have to work around those when I'm doing my coloring with this green. Also, I have to take my time and make sure I know which areas I want to have as the green, or which areas I would like to make, with like a chrome or gray trim. I have to make sure that I'm picking out the right items with the right colors on this. Again, I used 3 colors of green here. I'm going to a really light color to finish that off. And I saw some places that I missed a little bit of gray, so I'm going back and touching that up. Typically I use the brush end of my markers. However, today with the Jeep I used um, the tiny nib on end of the markers a lot of the time. It just worked out better with this image. Here I'm adding some light blue in the snow, in the windows, and then I'm coming back with a little bit darker blue for around the tires, a few other places. I'm going to add that to the license plate, making it blue, and then I'm going to add 3 little lines on the windows, just giving it some a look that looks like there's some streaking on the windows. Just adds a little bit to the image by doing that. Once my Jeep is completely done, I had planned to add like a Wicca Stella or a kind of a marker that has some glitter look to it onto the headlights, but I changed my mind and I'm going to add some jewels later. Now that the Jeep is done, what I am doing is I am creating a snowbank for my house, which the Jeep will be sitting in the snow in front of the house. So um, I am just drawing some blue lines after I just cut some curves into the card stock, the extra card stock. And then I'm going to add a few more areas with the blue lines. First, I'm going to attach this to the cabin so that it's already one piece, and then I can figure out where I want to put the additional snow lines, and I'm going to make some snow tracks to make it look like the Jeep made some tracks in the snow. So I'm going to attach this to my cabin so that there's snow in front of the cabin. I will then attach this full thing to my card. I'm using a liquid glue for this. I used a Bearly Arts glue, the Bearly Arts glue. I just have it in a very small bottle. I fill a little small bottle. It's just easier on my hands instead of the bigger Bearly Arts bottle. So I use a small bottle um, with a very fine tip point for the glue to come out of. At this point, when I'm getting ready to put this down, I did realize that I had forgotten, and I should have put my trees behind on each side of my cabin. So I stopped pressing down about the cabin and decided that I better pull that back up before it gets too stuck and put my trees behind that. So these are just some little trees that I had cut with a tree die in my stash. I have free-handed these trees before. You don't really have to have a die to add these trees behind here. It's just a little bit of greenery behind the cabin so that it just adds a little bit more to the look and feel. You could also add some white to these trees with like an acrylic marker or something to make them look like they have snow on the trees. That would be really cute. I did not do that in this case. I just added the greenery behind the cabin, as you can see. I'm doing that now. It does hang off the edge of my cardstock, but as I mentioned before, I'm going to be trimming this down a little bit anyway. So it's okay that it hangs off. We'll trim it when we trim the whole thing at the end. On the left side of the card, I am adding both a bigger tree and a smaller tree. Just again to add a little bit of depth so that you have 2 different sizes of trees, not just 2 identical trees on each side. So now I'm going back and pushing down that cabin and adding acrylic block to hold it down. I did think about putting my family building a snowman in front of the cabin. That would be really cute, but I think I'm still going to go with my Jeep in front of the cabin. So I'm going to go ahead and put there's some foam tape onto the back of the Jeep so that it's raised up a little bit, giving it look like it's out further, closer to you, which it would be if you're, looking at this scene. I would think that that would be closer to me and the cabin would be set back a little bit. So just adding a little foam tape here will raise it up just a bit and make it look a little bit closer to the person looking at the cards. So I'm using the Altenew foam tape. It is my absolute favorite foam tape. I started using it about a year ago, and it is my go-to when I'm using foam tape. If I want it set up higher, then I would just double up. I would, wrap it over and double up the foam tape. Here you can see I'm adding just some little snow, some blue for some snow creases on my white. And then I'm going to add some kind of like tire tracks or some treads or a little path here in front of the Jeep to make it look like the Jeep has driven in, or people have been driving where this Jeep is sitting. So I think it looks really cute in front of this cabin. And it's a great, like I said, masculine card. I always have trouble coming up with cards for the men in our lives, and this is one I think they would certainly enjoy, as well as anybody, but I think men would certainly enjoy this kind of woodsy scene. Now I'm using my Tim Holtz trimmer, and I'm going to trim a little off on each of the right and left hand side, and then I'll trim some off at the bottom. I'm not trimming off the top because I wanted to leave all the blue I could keep at the top, and I had a little too much white at the bottom, so I figured I'd just trim extra off of one side that way instead of trimming some off the top. And then by trimming off each side, I'm cutting off those trees that were hanging off the edge that we had not trimmed earlier, but now they're trimmed off when I trimmed down the side. So now my image is 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to add it to an A2 card base, so there'll be a little bit of white around my image all the way around, using just some a tape runner to adhere this. Making sure I get plenty of tape on there that it'll hold it down. And my card base is a top folding card base for this image. You could use a side fold. It really is up to you and what your preference is on that. I have a sentiment of warm winter wishes, which comes with the Cozy Winter Vibes stamp set. I stamped it using embossing ink on black cardstock and then used white embossing powder so that it would stand out on the card. And again, I'm using an acrylic block to make sure that it gets pressed down. Last, I'm going to take some crystals and I'm going to add them, just some clear crystals I'm going to add to the headlights of the vehicle. Again, I was going to use the sparkly like clear Wicastilla or something like that, but decided just to come back and add a few little crystals on here instead. And then I have some kind of blue tinted crystals. They don't have a lot of blue, but a little bit of blue in them. And I'm going to take those, and I think I'll add those into the centers of each of the snowflakes that are still showing at the top. That way it has a little bit of sparkle up in the top half or the sky part, and then there'll be the sparkle on the headlights. So as I finish up the headlights, I'll then move to adding just a drop of glue on the snowflakes at the top, again in the center. There's only 3 or 4 of those that have a center showing in this top area, so we'll just add those, a drop of glue on each of those, and add these little blue crystals right on top. This card could certainly be used just as a general greeting card with the warm winter wishes, or you could certainly use this as a holiday card to send out as well. And with that, we have added a little bit of sparkle, and we have a wonderful card made with Cozy Winter Vibe stamp set and the Layered Snowflakes embossing folder. Again, like, subscribe, leave comments, and you will be entered into the video hop with the possibility to win a gift card from Altenew. I wish you a very happy holidays, and thanks for watching. Have a great day and enjoy your holiday season.